Hello everyone, this is Anglais the Easy Way and I'm Richard Watson. And today I'd like to talk about reframing the concept of learning. Stop studying, start producing. Perhaps the biggest mistake that learners make is spending 90% of their time consuming, meaning listening and reading, and only 10% producing, meaning speaking and writing. If you want to accelerate your learning, you might need to flip that ratio. I think we could say that there's an input trap. Think about how you spend your time learning English. It's great to listen to podcasts. I advise everyone to do it, obviously. It's great to be reading articles. You learn vocabulary, you learn structures, you learn many, many things like that. If you're spending your time doing only that, and only grammar exercises and vocabulary lists, then maybe you're stuck in the input trap. It feels comfortable to be listening and reading. It feels safe and it feels productive. But you can listen to thousands of hours of English and still struggle to make simple sentences when you need to. Your brain believes it knows the language because it understands everything it hears. But recognition is not the same as recall. You can recognize a word in a book, but perhaps fail to recognize it when you need to speak. This is the difference between active and passive vocabulary. So today we're going to reframe learning as active production. I'm going to talk about how you can force your brain to switch from passive storage to active use. Now, the old mindset is the mindset of the eternal student. Where does this habit come from? Well, from the belief that you must be fully loaded with vocabulary and grammar before you can start speaking. It's a damaging belief. It doesn't help you. The idea that I need to learn more before I can actually use the language. It makes you an eternal student, always studying, never graduating. And the result is language paralysis. You become great at listening, even to complicated conversations, but completely silent when you need to say simple ones. When you try to speak, you feel paralyzed because your mouth is trying to do something your brain has only ever practiced passively. Think about learning to play the piano or the guitar, obviously. You can watch lessons for 10 years. You know all the notes, you might know the theory, but if you sit down at the keyboard, your fingers won't move properly. Why? Because the muscles and the pathways in your hands haven't practiced producing the music. And speaking is a muscle that needs exercise. So the new mindset, forcing output. The solution is to force yourself to produce English every day, even if it feels awkward or clumsy or difficult at first. The idea is to stop being a student and start becoming a practitioner. Here are some strategies to help you. The first one is the inner monologue hack, producing the language only in your brain. Right? Often people tell me they think in their native language. For me, I often hear French people say that. They think in French. And that when they speak out loud, it feels strange. So how do you fix that? Well, you switch your inner voice to English. For 5 minutes every morning, talk to yourself about simple things in English. I'm making coffee. I need to leave at 8. I wonder if it will rain today. If you're outside or on a bus, just put your headphones on and pretend you're talking on the phone. Nobody knows. You get to practice speaking freely in public, but in a safe way. And this activates the English pathways without any pressure. Strategy number 2. It's called the echo and chunk strategy. Chunking is when you make a group of something. Long conversations can often be too difficult to repeat perfectly. What is the fix? Well, when you're listening to anything, it could be a podcast, a TV, even a conversation, just catch and pick out some small fragments, even if it's only 2 or 3 words, and repeat those fragments immediately and perfectly. You might lose the thread of the conversation for a second, but that's okay. For example, a speaker might say, "One of these days," and you just catch that. Don't try to analyze it, just repeat, "One of these days." focusing on the exact speed and rhythm. You're practicing using a ready-made chunk of English, and that's how native speakers talk. Strategy number 3 is the retelling rule. When you listen to a podcast, the information just flows into your brain. But after reading it, if you stop immediately and try to rephrase what you've heard or explain the main idea out loud with your voice to yourself, you can talk to the wall, doesn't really matter. Don't worry about perfection. The struggle to recall the words is actually the learning happening. When it's difficult for you to remember the words you've just heard, that's the learning process. And strategy number 4 for people who are really struggling, just write it out. If it's too hard to speak, consume some English, listen to it or read it, and then rewrite it, reformulate it in a written form. It still makes you recall and find the vocabulary and activate it. So basically, the struggle you feel when you're trying to speak is the feeling of your brain getting stronger. Don't avoid that struggle. Go and find it and look for it and encourage it. So the conclusion then, stop feeling guilty for not studying grammar for hours. Your learning curve jumps up the moment you switch from passively consuming to actively producing. So your mission this week, dedicate more time to speaking and writing than to listening or reading. Make production your priority. Here's a last thought. The secret to fluency isn't more information, it's more application. Time for studying is over. The time for doing is now. So here's your action plan for the week. Your mission is to practice the echo and chunk strategy. Turn on an English podcast, a news report, a TV show. Every time you hear a short, clear phrase, meaning 3 or 4 or 5 words that sounds useful, for example, as a matter of fact, or no big deal, or I'm telling you, echo it immediately out loud with your voice. Don't stop the audio. Don't worry if you lose the thread. Just repeat the little chunk exactly the way they said it. Do it for 5 minutes every day this week. The goal is to start training your mouth to use these ready-made English phrases. Off you go and do it. I'll catch you next week. Don't forget to subscribe.